Turning now to Syria, where there is a cloud of uncertainty over who will replace the old iron-fisted regime. There are already reports of fighting between rebel groups. For now, regular Syrians are trying to put their lives back together after more than a decade of civil war. The CBC's Chris Brown has more.
On the first day of Syria's New Start, the notorious Sadnaya prison that epitomized the worst of Bashar al-Assad's regime was the scene of desperate searches. In 2014, they told me then that my brother was dead and not to come back, she said. But anguished families clung to faint hope of rumors of secret rooms where their loved ones might have survived. On Sunday, a mob freed those who were caged in tiny, filthy cells. The White Helmets humanitarian workers have helped with the ongoing search, but a volunteer member says sadly for those families, they have found no further prisoners.
The team are working on digging and cracking the walls. Maybe they have something to see and listen. But until now, we don't have proof that they are alive and there are people inside.
In the capital, after the initial euphoria, bakeries reopened. There were lines for fuel and for many also a strange new sense of freedom. It's been 50 years during which we couldn't speak nor express ourselves, he said. In the streets, rebels with guns, many of whom used to support al-Qaeda, mixed with civilians with few reports of trouble. Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, the commander whose assault on Aleppo 12 days ago triggered the beginning of Assad's demise, reportedly appointed interim officials to run the government. Now we need to be patient, said this man. The country's not going to get better immediately. In an ominous sign, there's been fighting between Turkish-backed forces and US-backed Kurds, underscoring the unity challenges facing Syria's new rulers. Israeli troops also seized and are now occupying Syrian territory in the Golan Heights, violating a long-standing ceasefire agreement. Israel's government says the move will protect it from hostile forces. Britain's government is one of the first to say it's considering delisting al-Jalani's Hayat Tahrir al-Sham as a terror group, possibly removing a key obstacle for dealing with the new Syrian administration. A cabinet minister says the decision will be based on how the group behaves. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Well, for more on this, we're joined now in studio by Rand Abou. She is a Syrian Canadian entrepreneur who arrived in Canada seeking asylum in 2016. Thanks so much for taking the time, Rand.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let me start by getting your reaction. What went through your head when you heard the news that al-Assad was no longer in power?
I don't think any of us had a reaction immediately. We were all processing. We're still processing it. It was one of the most shocking experiences to go through. As a Middle Eastern, as a Syrian, we're all still in shock, but the only emotion we can have is happiness right now. It's this surreal feeling that we can have our home back, we can have our land back, we can have our life back.
Have you talked to family that are in Syria right now? What are they telling you?
They're just as excited. We're all so happy. This is an opportunity that not many people get, and it's such a privilege to be able to have the opportunity to rebuild again, to have an opportunity to go back home, go back to your land and rebuild a country that has been damaged for so long. And so everyone is just excited to just rebuild. Like, the Syrian people are not worried with all the politics. They want to rebuild their homes. They want to rebuild their lives.
Well, you are optimistic right now. Is there a bit of concern as well? Because, you know, we are seeing the statues come down, but we're also hearing that sometimes there's clashes between some of these rebel forces. Are you concerned at all what could happen in the next weeks?
Of course. Everyone has skepticism about the situation. Everyone has an opinion about what's going to happen. But what people are forgetting is this is something that has been going on for over 50 years, from the dictator himself to his father. And this is something that they've been waiting for so long to happen. And so, yes, of course, we're concerned with all the rebels and everything that's going to go on. But right now, we want to enjoy this moment.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about what it is like to live under the Assad regime for family that you have there.
Well, that means silenced. That means you have no rights. That means you have no choice. That means you have no freedom. That means you have to do exactly what you're told. You have to live in fear. You have to live in one of the worst economic situations. And you have to watch this dictator who apparently has a garage full of amazing cars, watching over his people die. It's something that you just, it's very crazy to see that it happens today and that people are watching it happen.
Yeah.
And so living under, I had the privilege to get out, but...
Well, tell me about that, because it was 2011, I think, that you left?
I have not been to Syria since 2011, yes.
Okay, and when you left during the Civil War, when you escaped, what was that like in that journey to Canada?
So we did not escape from Syria to Canada. We lived in the UAE, but we came from the UAE to Canada, and we sought asylum here. That journey in itself was leaving everything behind. And it was leaving everything behind knowing that we will never go back to Syria again. That was the understanding. The understanding was Syria is uncharted territory that we can never step in again. So that the idea that this is a possibility now, the fact that I can potentially go back home, that's something that, again, we're all still processing and we never thought is possible. So
Assad now and his family are believed to be in Russia. What do you think should happen to him?
He definitely should be prosecuted. There's no way around it. He's one of the worst war criminals out there. He's done atrocious and committed just horrendous acts. And there's no way he should go and escape.
Let me ask you about this, because the new rebel leader says that he wants to reflect Syria's diversity. But in 2015, during an interview with Al Jazeera, he said that he would like to see Syria be ruled under Islamic law. Does this make you fearful for future minorities in the country?
Again, there's a lot of skepticism happening right now. With chaos comes fear, and that's very natural. Right now, what we're concerned about is rebuilding our own home. It doesn't seem right now there's anything extremist happening. Of course, with chaos, a lot of conflict is going to happen. But right now, and the only thing we care about as Syrians is rebuilding and the hope of having our home back and our economy back and our country back. So
what do you think Syria needs right now for stability in the next months ahead so that can happen?
Well, first of all, it needs aid. You see the prisoners being freed right now. There's thousands of prisoners who need help, need aid, they need psychological treatments. There has to be economic aid, there has to be healthcare aid. There has to be support from the other countries for the people themselves to actually be able to heal themselves and rebuild the country. We need food, we need gas, we need so much support right now. And I think this is one of the most critical points in Syria's history, because this can either be the most positive thing and we can grow into one of the most wonderful economies like we used to be, or this can go really badly. So I think this is the time where people should be giving their support, and this is the time where countries should help Syria and help its people and be less focused on the politics and more focused on how can our people recover from this.
I know that you've enjoyed being in Canada, but what would it mean for you to go back and visit home?
Oh, everything. To go back to my grandparents' home, to go back and see my cousins, to play in the fields again, to smell the jasmine again. It would mean the world to me.
You're getting emotional.
Yeah, to me, to my dad, to my mom, to all of us.
Okay. Got to leave it there. Ran, thank you.
Thank you so much.